Every year, Jungle Scout puts out a report called The State of the Amazon Seller. This report has a whole bunch of statistics and data that they've gathered from analyzing over 2,000 different sellers' perspectives. The data that they give in this report is very valuable information. You can use this to analyze trends and make decisions on key areas of your business. This report pretty much summarizes every important piece of information that you as an Amazon seller could need. Plus, it just has a ton of interesting facts. I think even if you weren't an Amazon seller, this would be a very interesting read. And it gives tons of detailed data about Amazon sellers, helping you make key decisions on your Amazon business. So without further ado, let's dive into my computer. I'm going to take you guys through the report. I hope you guys find this as interesting as I do because I genuinely love reading this report every year. Okay guys, so welcome into my computer. Just finished eating a birthday cake protein bar. My friends know me well. Don't get me real birthday cake on my birthday. All right, let's get into this. So just before we get into the interesting statistics, it's worth taking a look at the methodology. You guys can feel free to pause when necessary. I hope that it's big enough on the screen for you. But essentially, Jungle Scout surveyed more than 2,600 Amazon sellers, prospective and former sellers, in a whole bunch of different countries and marketplaces of all different ages. So essentially, Jungle Scout has gathered all this data from surveying different Amazon sellers. The one thing to keep in mind is that there is a bias that you need to be aware of, that it's probably tougher for them to reach out to Chinese sellers because, Jungle Scout is an American company, they speak English, and therefore just keep in mind that some of these statistics could be skewed in only representing the types of sellers that Jungle Scout can actually reach out to. So here it is, the state of the Amazon seller. I'll leave the link in the description below so you guys can check this out for yourselves. As they said, more than 2,000 entrepreneurs, brands, and businesses. The report focuses on sellers who operate small and mid-sized businesses, which is abbreviated as SMBs, and they also do provide insight on larger sellers. So they always start with interesting statistics. $514 billion in Amazon's annual revenue. I'm not sure which countries or if that's all countries. It's probably all countries. 300 plus million customers. 2.7 billion site visits each month. That's insane. This is a very important stat, actually. 66% of consumers start their online searches for products. That's just proving that selling on Amazon is such a smart choice. People come to Amazon when they're looking for a product. They don't start at Google, they go to Amazon first. Another interesting stat is third-party sales make up 58% of Amazon sales. I believe this is increasing year over year, and 89% of small and medium businesses are profitable. Here's a quick timeline, but I'm not an Amazon historian and I don't really care. So this is what Amazon sellers reported as their focus areas for 2023. Number 1 is trying new marketing tactics. 2 is exploring other e-commerce platforms. That's interesting to see people wanting to get away from Amazon, and I understand that just because of the fee increases. But my assumption would be that fee increases won't be so drastic moving forward. So hopefully we're back to the new normal when it comes to people feeling comfortable with their fees and pricing on Amazon. And then just overall, people obviously want to increase their market share, increase their revenue, and they can do that by exploring new global markets. So here's an interesting statistic. 52% of sellers will explore other e-commerce platforms in 2023, up from 30% last year. That's a major increase. Just shows you that people are getting a little bit fed up with Amazon and their fee increases. And obviously, a personal anecdote is, my profitability is way down on Amazon, even with equal sales. So Amazon is just taking more in fees. And 50% of people will explore selling in new global markets, up from 25% last year. Also very interesting, could be due to the fact that reviews are now shared across marketplaces, which incentivizes people to sell in more countries. This just shows e-commerce expansion. So not surprisingly, eBay is declining. eBay is somewhat a thing of the past, but this is down 14% year over year on alternative e-commerce platforms for Amazon sellers. Not surprisingly, Walmart is growing fast, as well as Etsy. I think those two probably totally make sense. Obviously, as you guys can see, Alibaba and AliExpress are up massive year over year, over 100% increases. This is something to look into. I don't actually have much insight on this, but maybe sellers should be selling on these platforms in China. All right, chapter 2, the basics. So this is clearly talking about Amazon sellers themselves, their demographics, and so on. Here we can see 58% of sellers are between the ages of 25 and 44. I think that's not surprising. I'm maybe a bit surprised that 28% are 25 to 34-year-olds. I thought it might skew a bit older, but I love to see it. I love to see a young demographic. As for location, 55% in the US, 7% in the UK, and 6% of sellers come from Canada. This is not surprising to me. However, what is surprising is seeing China at 2%. So this is where Jungle Scout's bias comes into play. They probably are able to interview more people in Western-speaking, English-speaking countries. And so this might not be a very accurate gauge. I think everyone knows how many sellers are actually Chinese. So just keep in mind that this data does skew more towards the types of people that Jungle Scout is able to collect data from. 72% male, 26% female. I guess that's not surprising. I thought maybe it'd be a little bit higher for male even, but interesting. Education, who really cares? I think anybody can sell on Amazon. Doesn't really matter your education. You guys know I dropped out of university, so it doesn't really matter your education in my opinion. This is probably the most interesting stat on the page to me. 39% of sellers describe themselves as digital nomads who work remotely and travel. I didn't think it would be anywhere near that high, and hearing that it is that high is very surprising. Once again, this could be a bit of Jungle Scout bias, as I know Jungle Scout itself is a fully remote company, and so maybe they attract the type of people that are digital nomads. I know when I was living in Thailand, the founder of Jungle Scout was also there at the time, so maybe they attracted those types of sellers in their survey. 70% of sellers are third-party sellers, just like me and you. Okay, moving on to how do Amazon sellers run their businesses. 54% of sellers are selling private label, creating their own product. And as you guys know, this is obviously my recommended category. I think it has the best margins, the best control over your product. You're not dealing with hijackers. So I definitely think private label is the way to go. One that I think is actually interesting is handmade, or people that are creating art, that type of thing. I think that it gives you a big moat in terms of it's not easy for people to copy you if you're hand making stuff. And it's more the type of thing where you can have higher margins because people appreciate the time and effort that went into making that product. So no surprise, private label at the top. But hey, if this is the type of thing that you could incorporate into your selling on Amazon, go for it. I think there's lots of opportunity for high profit there. No surprises here. FBA is far superior as long as Amazon's fulfillment network isn't backed up like it was during COVID. Here you can see global marketplaces based on visitors. Canada being number 2 actually surprises me. I guess it's just because it's the second oldest marketplace, so it's had the longest time to grow. And obviously, it's easy for sellers to launch products in Canada if they're already selling in the US. I think some of these other marketplaces that are growing present a good opportunity. I think Mexico is a good growth opportunity. I think Australia is a decent growth opportunity as long as there's enough demand. So you can use this to kind of decide which marketplaces are emerging and might be great for launching your products into. Trending products and categories. I'm not going to go into all of this. However, you can see obvious increases in home and kitchen and beauty and personal care, with toys and games decreasing. So maybe these are more discretionary purchases, whereas staples are on the rise. Now, this is a very interesting graph. So these are suppliers, and China has decreased by 3% from 2022 to 2023, and the US has gone from 26 to 33%. That is a very big increase, showing that political tensions do make an impact on business. So, as China's become more expensive and tariffs have increased, sellers have moved their manufacturing back to the United States, which is a very interesting trend to keep an eye on. I think this might reverse now that shipping is cheaper. I think this may have also been a result of freight being so expensive over the last couple of years, but we've seen massive decreases in that over time. This just talks about the number of products per seller. So very interesting that 51% of sellers have 10 or fewer products. I'm not sure if I would be above or below 20, but I'm kind of in this range. And obviously there's some large brands that sell tons of SKUs, but I think, this is kind of the sweet spot to be in, focusing on great quality on a few select amount of products tends to be a winning formula for Amazon sellers. Now, this is very interesting. So 58% of sellers' prices are between $16 and $50. So there's a ton of volume up in here. I find it interesting that only 2% are above $100. So very interesting. All right, let's talk about what matters here, sales and profitability. So this is very interesting when it comes to sales. 72% of small and medium business sellers report sales of more than $1,000 a month, and 55% report sales above $5,000 per month. So people are doing more sales than you might think. I mean, I'm kind of in this category. I'm in this, top 15% of sellers in terms of average monthly sales. Soon, hopefully, I'll be in the top 7%. That's kind of the goal this year. I think I'll make it happen. And then lifetime sales, we got 10% of people that don't know, but 1% have more than 50 million in sales. Clearly, most people are under 25,000, but once again, this data can be a little bit skewed by who Jungle Scout is interviewing. Of course, people that are currently signed up for Jungle Scout is probably who they were targeting when they were asking these questions, so maybe that skews more towards new sellers. It's definitely possible that older sellers or more established sellers don't need to rely on Jungle Scout, and therefore they're not getting interviewed by Jungle Scout. I'm not exactly sure how they ran their interviews. So this is actually quite interesting. 55% of sellers have profit margins above 15%. I thought it would be way more than that. I can't imagine running a business below 10% margins, although this year we've kind of gotten close. Historically, I've always ran my business between 35 to 40%, maybe 30 to 40% margins because I was in less competitive niches. But I'm very surprised to see just how many sellers are in these really low profit percentages. And I think this year, as shipping costs come down and costs get reduced, I know personally we're getting rid of my 3PLs, and so our margins will go way back up into this kind of range. But yeah, it's surprising to me that only 55% of sellers are above 15% margins. And alternatively, for bigger sellers, 67% of sellers have profit margins above 15%. So not surprising there that enterprise sellers are doing better than small and medium businesses. They kind of have that flywheel worked out, and they have the processes in place to be more efficient. But yeah, I'm surprised so many sellers are selling at such low margins. So comparing 2022 to 2021, 37% of people had increased profits in 2022, 30% had their profits decrease, and 17% stayed the same. We'll disregard don't know. For me, I had a good 2021, but because of COVID, we were out of stock too much. So 2022 is definitely better than 2021, even though the end of 2022 was quite disappointing. Recession fears and those types of things definitely showed decreased demand. And then by the end of 2022, Amazon's fees were really starting to hurt. But overall, I'd still say 2022 had more profit than 2021. However, what I will say is I got a lot of work to do in 2023 to get my profits above 22 or 21. So that's obviously the goal this year. I'm as focused as I've ever been, but it is going to be a large climb to get back up to our 2021/2022 profit. Now look at this. Lifetime profits, 47% have lifetime profits over 100 grand. That's impressive. I mean, that's your everyday person that has made quite a bit of money from Amazon. Here is where it just gets crazy though. So for these big companies, look at the amount of money they're bringing in. More than $50 million profit is 21% of large businesses. That's crazy. That just shows you how much money there is being made on Amazon. And if you can grow a business and continue to grow it over time, look at the amount of profit people are making. And it's not uncommon. So this is what it takes to sell on Amazon when you ask an Amazon seller. Here you can see that it's quite quick to start an Amazon business. 70% of sellers say it takes less than 6 months to start an Amazon business. I would agree. And this is time sellers spend on their Amazon businesses each week. 4 to 10 hours is the most common answer. Isn't that incredible? So you can have a business profiting hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars per year, and you have to spend 4 to 10 hours working on it each week. This is why Amazon is such an amazing business model. You need to look at your input versus your output. You can make more money than selling on Amazon, but a lot of those businesses take 60 hours a week. This is such a passive income stream. Once you have it set up, it is so easy to maintain. The majority of sellers, 58%, spend less than $5,000 to start their business on Amazon, and 25% spend less than $1,000. Most sellers are bootstrappers. 77% say they at least partially funded their business with their own cash. That's what I definitely recommend. I don't think you should be going into debt to start your Amazon business. And 63% of sellers say they are profitable within a year of launching their business. Once again, could be a bit of bias. You know, you're probably quitting and no longer talking to Jungle Scout for their surveys if you weren't profitable, but interesting nonetheless. Time it takes to turn a profit. I mean, for me, it would probably be fewer than 3 months. It's quite easy to start turning profit if you're in low competition products. And as you can see here, there's a wide dispersion of dollar amounts that people fronted to start their Amazon businesses. A lot of people do more than 10,000, but it's very split between 1 to 10K plus. So this is where sellers are investing to grow their businesses. The one thing I find most interesting is e-commerce platforms is actually down 6% year over year. For example, this includes Amazon PPC. And I'm actually going to make a video soon about an argument for stopping or reducing your PPC spend. I think more and more as PPC costs go up, sellers are realizing that their dollars could be better spent elsewhere. Also not surprising, social media is increasing. I think this is going to continue as more and more people are glued to their social media. I think advertising on social media can be profitable. And then very surprisingly to me is that more and more people are spending on things such as Google Ads. If people are advertising on search engines, obviously 90% are advertising on Google Ads. That's not surprising. It's just got the most traffic. 24% of sellers post advertising content on their branded or personal social media accounts. Can't say I've ever, oh no, we do have an Instagram account. So yeah, I have, but it hasn't been a focus. And I think it's something we will focus on more this year. 12% of people have hired influencers to promote their products on social media. I think this has a huge payoff. I think this is something that I need to look into this year, and I probably should have been doing this already. It's just a great ROI. You know, it's cheap advertising, and it gets you a lot of views. Obviously, you can just take a quick look. The one that pops off the page to me is the fact that YouTube ads have grown so much year over year. When it comes to PPC spend, 70% of sellers spend less than $2,500 a month. I do spend more than that currently, but we're looking to reduce that. Obviously, smaller businesses just tend to spend less, but if you're a bigger business, like I said, I will be releasing a video why I think it may be worth it for some sellers to reduce or eliminate their PPC spend and put it into other areas. Here's the self-reported top motivations for sellers, obviously to be their own bosses, extra income, flexibility. You guys know the drill. This is obvious. Chapter 7, challenges, and challenges we have had over the last couple of years. If I don't see fee increases here at the top, I'm going to be disappointed. Top 10 business challenges, product research. Okay, I think that's the fact that Jungle Scout is a product research company and they're interviewing people on Jungle Scout who are doing product research. So I think that shouldn't be number one. Customer reviews, yes, I can agree. Managing PPC, yes, I can agree. I think people should reduce it. Okay, so people agree here, increasing shipping costs for inventory and or order fulfillment. This is my number one. Like Amazon has increased this 20% year over year for the last 2 years. It's crazy. And I hope it stops because if they don't, then sellers are going to keep raising their prices to make profit and then customers are going to leave Amazon. I think Amazon needs to get this under control fast. I'm also really surprised that increasing cost of goods is an issue. I don't really see that happening in China. Maybe it's more in America, but I definitely agree with increased competition driving prices down. Yeah, I've seen that happen. The more sellers there are for a certain good, the lower the price is going to go. This just talks about supply chain issues. So only 46% of people lost sales in 2022 versus 74% in 2021. I've definitely lost a lot of sales both years from being out of stock, and something I'm looking to improve upon. And I just scrolled back a few pages because the presentation ended abruptly. So thank you, Jungle Scout. No, but for real, I do appreciate them putting together all this information. It's very interesting. Like I said, you have to take it with a grain of salt because they are only interviewing people that they have access to, and they typically only have access to new sellers or people looking for products using their software. But still, I mean, like some of the statistics on here, like the enterprise lifetime profits, that's insane. And it just shows you how much money is sloshing around inside of Amazon. You just got to take a small piece of the pie. So I hope you guys enjoyed that breakdown as much as I do. I really enjoy reading these reports every year. I think it gives you tons of important information so that you can make decisions about your Amazon business. And if you don't feel like it gave you anything to work with, hopefully it at least sparked your mind in terms of ideas or areas for improvement. I know when I read all this information, I come away from it thinking, okay, I can make some changes, or I can predict the future in terms of where I believe that Amazon selling is headed. So that's all, guys. Subscribe if you're new. I'll be releasing tons of entrepreneurial and Amazon FBA content. I'm going to document the journey of the growth of my Amazon business through 2023. And I hope you guys are subscribed and can come along that journey with me. Thanks for being here, guys. I'll see you guys in the next video.